Hello. Welcome to our video discussing step-by-step how SMS Pro is built to meet the FAA's SRM process requirements. For this video, we will be walking through SMS Pro from the vantage point of the FAA's Part 5 documentation and the accompanying Advisory Circular AC number 120-92B, Safety Management Systems for Aviation Service Providers. The FAA's SRM component is broken down into the following sections, which all flow together seamlessly in one process. System description, where you will describe all SMS activities and resources. Hazard identification, where you will list all hazards. Risk analysis, where you will identify all potential consequences for each hazard. Risk assessment, where you will use the risk matrix to assess each risk. And risk controls, where you will develop any needed control measures. SMS Pro fulfills this entire process by duplicating it with the Proactive Hazard Analysis Tool module. Here's how it's done. The system description component is somewhat riddled with vague language. For example, the FAA writes in Part 5.53, the certificate holder must analyze the systems, and those systems must be used to identify hazards and developing controls. But what are systems? How do they differ from the overall system? And what does analyze entail? Here's how we solve this problem in SMS Pro. First, you write an introduction for your operational risk profile. System, in this case, simply means the entire system, your operational risk profile. Next, in SMS Pro, you will need to choose your model for analysis, which we provide as either 5M or shell. System analysis should explain the function and interactions among the hardware, software, people, and environment. Both the 5M and shell models are similarly constructed. Once you choose your model, you will need to analyze each system. In SMS Pro, each system is divided by hazard categories. For example, flight ops is one system, ground ops is another, and so on. You can use SMS Pro's default setup for systems, or create or import your own. Regardless of what hazard categories you choose as your systems, with each system you will describe it based on your chosen model. In our example, we have chosen the shell model. Here you can list all relevant activities and resources needed to analyze SMS operations, such as with personnel, equipment and facilities, operating environment, and processes and procedures. This process is extensive and should be extremely thorough, as it will be used to identify hazards and declare risk controls. After each system has been described, you may already have identified many hazards. You can also review each system for more hazards, such as indicated by the FAA's prompting, what could go wrong with each of your processes that could cause an accident. The hazard identification process manifests itself in your list of hazards, as you can see. Now, this is actually a lot trickier than it first seems because of the endemic confusion about what a hazard is. What's important to know is how the FAA defines a hazard: a condition that could foreseeably cause or contribute to an accident. In the FAA's definition, the hazard should be a dangerous condition that can cause an accident. All of your hazards should reflect dangerous conditions. Once hazards are identified, you can begin doing risk analysis. What the FAA asks for here is that you analyze safety risk associated with the hazards identified in hazard identification. Basically, what this entails is that you analyze each hazard and come up with a list of potential negative consequences or risks, such as accidents, injuries, etc. Every organization will have a different process for analyzing hazards for risks, but the documentation of those risks is held as proof of your analysis process. Of course, SMS Pro does have many modules that you can use as proof of analysis, such as the bow tie module, or submitting a particular risk as a safety issue, which would naturally result in a full investigation of the risk. Congruent to the risk analysis process is the risk assessment process. Based on your findings, you will need to perform an initial risk assessment on each risk. This process is easily done by selecting the risk and then performing a risk assessment with a risk matrix. The FAA says that a risk matrix provides you with a way to integrate the effect of severity and the probability which enables you to assess risk. SMS Pro already provides criteria for both severity and likelihood as per the FAA's advisory circular. You can use our default criteria or define your own. Now, based on this risk assessment, you will need to make a decision whether additional risk controls are needed or whether the risk is acceptable. If the risk is acceptable, it will need to be monitored in SMS Pro's safety insurance process, which is covered in another video. If the risk is still unacceptable, then you will need to implement further risk controls. The process is built in SMS Pro, and creating new controls is very easy. In SMS Pro, risk controls are separated by their status as either fully implemented or in the process of implementation. The FAA requires that you evaluate controls for acceptability before implementing them, which of course makes a lot of sense. You can submit the control as a safety issue to be implemented with corrective actions, or submit it as a management of change. The loop for the SRM process is closed when you update your system description to include any new controls or resources. And that's how SMS Pro satisfies the FAA's SRM requirement based on Part 5 documentation and the advisory circular. If you have any questions or are interested in a live demonstration of SMS Pro, please contact us. Thank you for watching.